Alrighty, and we're on. Literally just like that.
We're on, yes.
We're sitting here at Ignite Martial Arts on the sunny coast. And I'm here with Ryan Dunstan of the Dunstan Death Squad. So I'll just be careful, Ryan. I don't think it'll go any higher than that.
That'll be right.
Yeah, and then you'll end up pulling it out and feel really awkward. Sometimes I put it on my lap to get the extra height.
Okay.
Yeah. But to give people a bit of a synopsis on Ryan, like Ryan's obviously coaching out of here with the Dunstan Death Squad, has a pretty successful fight team here. And so I was actually a few weeks ago when I did the podcast with Perry gave you a shout out at the same time.
You did.
Renato also asked me, many moons ago, he said to me, "Oh, Johnny, you got to get Ryan on the podcast." And then when I do a podcast, I like to look if my guest has done other podcasts, just to get some insight into what might have been covered and things that I might want to pick on. But you've been hiding.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been hiding, but obviously the opportunities haven't come up. I don't know if anyone doesn't want to talk or anything like that, but yeah, I try to actually get some of the fighters on here to talk today. Yeah. And you said you wanted me on here.
Yeah, I always, as they say, the famous saying, the fish rots from the head down, right?
Right.
So if I get the coach, then it's a lot easier for me to get the fighters.
Yes.
And like what I was saying to Ryan before is that the fighters know that they're always going to have to do promotion anyway. But for the coaches, a lot of the coaches are just behind the scenes doing their thing, taking pride in the work, that the fighters do in the cage. Yeah. So, I like to grab the coaches too because it really sort of provides some insight into the culture that you're building and the team and like your own history and background as well. So I guess to sort of bring it back for everybody, can we start with like where you grew up and what life was like for you growing up?
All right, yeah. So I grew up here. I was born in Caloundra. I think there's only about 280 kids born here before it went up to Nambour. And I grew up here, went to high school, did a lot of fighting out, during school. So I was into martial arts. Obviously, didn't take up a martial arts like karate or boxing or anything, but I had a lot of friends that were doing it. And it wasn't until, I think, the mid-90s when the UFC came out on the VHS tapes. And then, we were watching that, my brother and I, and it wasn't until 2004 that we actually got into it with a proper gym. Yep. So, that's how it started.
So, how old's your brother? Is he older or younger than you?
He's younger than me. He's a year and a half.
A year and a half younger. And then for you guys growing up, like, what was your schooling experience like? Were you into school? Were you not really into school? Like, what sort of a kid were you?
I was into school there for the social aspect of it, I'd say. I wasn't very good at school, so when I went to grade 11. So after that, then I pursued other dreams and goals that I had, and just went from there. It wasn't until I circled back in about 2003 was a life-changing sort of stuff. So I thought, 2004 I'm going to do something different. And that's when martial arts came back into my life, and I pursued that heavily until now.
Yep. So I do want to ask you about that life-changing moment, but before we get there, just in terms of, so when you made the decision, okay, I'm done with school, did you have an idea what you wanted to do outside of school?
Playing a band.
Playing a band?
Yeah.
No way?
Yeah.
Okay. What musical instrument do you play?
Guitar.
Guitar?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all through high school, I was in a band.
Yep.
And
what was the band called?
A Germanic. It was a thrash band back then, so it was in the early 90s.
Yep.
And then we went up to about 94 or something like that, and then everyone went the different ways to go get jobs and stuff, and leave high school. And then my brother and I continued on that music, and we ended up doing a few CDs, touring until about 2003.
Wow.
With that band. And life-changing, all it was is that when you're on the road and you're doing things you're not supposed to be doing every day, it gets a little bit too much. And that's what we were doing, and I just needed a change. Otherwise, I was going down the wrong path. So it was just sitting there one morning. I said to Lee, we have to make a change. I've got to do this. And the music industry was changing anyway. This, Australian Idol and stuff like that was coming out, and venues were closing and it just seemed a lot harder because we were there before pokies were introduced. You could still smoke in the venues, and the venues were packed because people would go see live music. And then after the introduction of pokies and obviously the smoking in clubs, that it sort of diminished all the people going out. They'd just go and play the pokies.
Yeah.
So live venues sort of were struggling, and it was just harder to make a living. It's hard anyway, and we decided. I decided that I couldn't be doing this anymore, and not because I didn't love it. It's just that I was heading in the wrong direction.
The lifestyle.
Yeah, the lifestyle. Yeah, if people would know. Yeah, and
it's I guess when you think of Rolling Stone, right? Like kind of sex, drugs,
thing.
rock and roll, right?
Same thing.
Yeah.
And so just made that hard decision because it was what we'd done for nearly 10 years.
Yep.
And then to make that huge change, it wasn't a huge change because I love martial arts anyway. Anything that you have to do, if you want to do it well, you have to be 100% in. And at that time, there was actually limited. There was 2 gyms that were on Google. And I'm talking Google had one page. Yeah, we had dial-up internet. So
the modems were
yeah, that was them days. Some people don't know them. Yeah, that was those days. And there was 2 gyms, and it was one page with an email address on it. And I sent the email off to both address and got one back.
Wow.
And so we started down there the following Monday.
Yep.
And the rest is history.
Well, both of you went.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then, in terms of like the gigs and all that, so you just sort of stopped all that? So no more music?
We're supposed to go on an Australian tour. And the pre-tour show didn't go real well. Okay. Yeah. And if that was the way that we were going to start, it wasn't going to end well. So it was a lot of people that were upset because we had just done an EP. So we were going on the release for that. We were on Rage.
Yep.
Like we on they showed our videos and stuff like that, and I was like, I couldn't even make the pre-shows.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
So then, a little bit curious about this. So, when did you first pick up the guitar? And then, like, was that
guitar and martial arts have always been in my life.
Okay.
So I picked up the guitar, and it's the same day. So I picked up the guitar at my uncle's in Mackay. We had a family barbecue, and my cousin had just got back from Japan, and for the World Kyokushin Karate tournament. He was 18 or something, and anyway, I remember my uncle's picking up the guitar because everyone would sing at our barbecues with the guitars and that, and just sort of captured my ear. I must have been grade 5, so 9 years old.
Yep.
And then at the same barbecue, my cousin, because he just got back from Japan, and we'd go into his rooms and he had all the nunchucks, the bow, swords, shuriken, everything in his room. He would come out and do his nunchuck demonstration that he did for the Emperor. Because Brad Madam is my cousin, and he was the nunchucker king. And he did a demonstration for the Emperor of Japan.
Wow. So
at the barbecue that I picked up the guitar, was the same barbecue that my cousin came out and did a demonstration. And at 9 years old, it was I don't know, obviously it was life-changing because I ended up picking up the guitar when I come home, did guitar lessons. Always interested in martial arts, watching it through the movies, all the Asian action movies and that. 7 Grandmasters is my favourite movie. Right? So, so we... Well, Lee and I were there, but it really struck with me in my soul. And so, I went the music path first, always still into martial arts. Never took up one at an early age. Obviously, my brother, he took up judo, and it wasn't until the band finished, it was sort of like, I'm going to see what we can do.
Yeah.
Let's do this and bring back martial arts to Caloundra, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, and... in 10 years we'll be black belts, this and that, yeah. And now it's 20 years and we've accomplished all that. So that's how it sort of started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess you know, it's a pretty big decision, you know, when you say, you know, you're gonna turn up your whole life and what you guys have known in terms of like, you know, doing the music thing, the touring and all that sort of stuff, to then go and say, all right, this is the change I'm making. So then, do you remember like the first day when you stepped into that place that you signed up for?
Oh yeah.
On the Monday. What was
so
that like?
I remember it was at West End in Brisbane, and we drove down. I said, "Oh, you get that nervous feeling in your stomach, yeah." And then I remember we were trudging up. And back in that, there was no signs on where the entry was. So you have a look at the address. All right, where do you get in? Oh, so there's a back way, right? It doesn't say this way to the gym open, nothing like that. So I remember walking up the stairs, and you could hear everyone hitting the bags and stuff like that. And walked in, had a look around. Obviously, they're on the bags. They're doing wrestling. They're doing this and that. And I remember just standing there waiting for someone to come up to us to see if we were all right and that. And someone came over and just said, wait here for a second. You know what I mean? Yeah. And all the people around the room, they're hitting the bags, they're doing their circuits and stuff like that. And someone came over and they introduced themselves to us, and we said what we wanted to do. And we just wait there, did the first class. One of the coaches at that time was getting ready for a Spartan event. So Spartan must have been one of the early ones, like Rings and Spartan, that Kerry Dunn put on. Was they were getting ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as we went in there, I was like, all right, this is a competing gym. That's what I wanted to be. Even though I was, there's no other choice, but it was good that the gym was at competition. So, we did that. And I was sick on the way home, let me tell you. One of the girls there, 4 stripes, she won the Australian titles or something. I thought that I was going to be there like sack of rubber, right?
Yeah.
I said, no, it should be all right. I tapped the girl. I got lit up. Like, basically, she choked me that many times. And because I didn't really know how long I should hold on to tap, I went as far as I possibly could, obviously.
You're almost going out.
Man, by the time I said, we were driving through the city in Brisbane. I said, pull over. I had to open up the door and spew everywhere.
Oh, wow.
I just got out of the gym, you know, with a poker face that I don't know if I had on. And got into the car. We only went around the block, and I spewed everywhere. I was so fatigued, so tired. And, you see me back there on the Wednesday. So, yeah.
Isn't that funny? It's like, you see that a lot, you know, when people start and then, you don't have this awareness of how far you should let submissions go.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you can get pretty severely injured from it. Like if it's an arm bar and you're like, oh, you know, I'll just see where it goes. And then when it goes past the breaking point,
you're in trouble. Yeah.
You're in trouble.
So there's got to be a little bit more explanation when you're going into it to the beginners, you know. So I always bring them over and say, this is the situation that you're going to be put in.
The most powerful move. Let me teach you the most powerful move in jiu-jitsu.
That one.
That's the move. Double tap. Gets you out of anything. No, that's good. And so then for you, like, when did you decide that, you know, well, obviously you would have been working or something at the same time, right? Like, what were you doing for work?
I was just working in the local surf shops there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I won't go into... I was during that time I was a bodyboarder as well. I wanted to say what I was doing. Yeah, I was bodyboarder. I was a sponsored bodyboarder as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Sponsored by Rip Curl and stuff like that. So I was working in a surf shop.
Yep.
And through the school holidays. So I was doing that and, doing music. So, it sort of took over from each other's stages.
Yeah.
Once I stopped bodyboarding, I was fully into the music. And then after the music, I was into martial arts.
Okay. And so then, so while you were training, you know, aside from working in the surf shop, like when did you decide, okay, I'm going to compete. I want to actually, you know, go and test myself and do all these sorts of things?
Well, 3 months in after training, there was the first, obviously, grappling competition. So I entered that. And then all I knew is that I was always going to fight. So after that competition, I did a few more grappling ones, and then I think the year later, it was 2000, over a year. So about 2006, the middle of 2006, I did the King of the Mountain up in Toowoomba. That was my first fight.
Yeah, wow. And what are your memories of that fight?
I remember my mate picking us up on the day to drive to Toowoomba. It's like a 3-hour drive. And I had one of my other guys, he was fighting on the card too. and must have been 20 fights on the card. So we're driving up there, and this is Facebook would only, I don't even know, it was around, was it 2006?
Might have just started. Yeah, might have been around.
So no one was really using it. And we still had to go to internet cafes to email someone.
Yep.
You know, they were out everywhere because you couldn't use your data on your phone because phones were VGA quality pictures.
Yeah.
You know, pixelate. Yeah,
it would have just been coming out of the Nokia days.
Yeah,
early iPhone 1s and 2s.
No iPhones
yet.
No,
yeah, there you go.
No, just the Philips. I don't know what it was, but I remember we got there, and I hardly did any training for it. I thought it was tough anyway, you know, and I went out the weekend before too, so got to the fight. We pulled up, and my mate goes, "Shit, I hope you're not fighting that dude." I said, "No, he's too fucking big for me. You know, he's not in the right weight division." So anyway, we get there, and we're doing the weigh-ins, and they call my name up. I get up on the set. There's 60 people in this little room because it was 20 fights there.
Yeah, 40 fighters.
So I get on there, get on the scales. There must have been 72 I weighed in on. So there wasn't really any weight division sort of thing. And then called his name. I didn't look at him because there was no face-offs. It's basically you hop on the scales, friggin' that's it, yeah? There's no promotion how we do now with the face-offs and stuff like that. And he's hopped on the scales. I remember it was 79.5. And I was, 79.5? What weight division are we doing? What weight are we doing? I got told it was 72. So anyway, you can't call my coach. It's a Saturday. Can't call the coach. Got to email him. So I've got to go look somewhere in Toowoomba. The internet cafe is open to try and work out if they're waiting. And they said, "No, it's close enough. That'll do." You know what I mean? That was. I remember that. I remember the night of the preparing for it. I remember at the back hitting the pads and going through all the combinations. This is when you sort of learn stuff. When the coach, one of the assistant coaches on the pad, he's doing all this stuff, and I was like, "Shit, we got to stop," because when you first fight, you don't know how much to warm up. You're just doing what the coach tells you to do. And I'm hitting the pads. So shit, I'm fucking tired. I'm tired, but he keeps on doing this response to the point that I said, I think I need to have a stop, you know, because you don't want to tell your coach, "Can we have a rest?" Because he knows better. And I was just a bit tired. I remember the walkout, the guy in the cage, they were 5-minute rounds. The first round was a hard round. The second round, I don't know what happened that one. I must have slipped on the canvas, got up with a brief exchange, and I got finished triangle in that one. And I said after that one, all right, the preparation has to be better. I am not going to go through this shit again. And I'm going to make sure that anyone that I have fighting will be looked after. Like, I didn't have to get that cost me money to fight. Obviously, it costs everyone to fight. Just the preparing of it made it better for me when I took my fight team away. I would get the hire car, make sure the hotel was done before we got, everything like that was booked. Yeah. Just those little things. And to make it easier, worked out where to eat, all that kind of stuff, because there's nothing worse getting in the car, don't know what the area or what to eat, what your fighter likes to eat and stuff like that. So a lot of things out of that first fight that happened to me, I made sure that wouldn't happen to anyone else. Yeah. Because it didn't worry me. I go through this shit anyway. So, but it was a good experience that I went through all those things, just so that none of my guys that moving forward would ever go through that shit. Yeah. So it was learning. I didn't care if I lost or anything like that. Just get in there and fight.
Yep. And then, so for you, like, did you have any goals at that particular time? Like, what was the?
The goal was to get 10 fights was my minimum that I wanted to get. What I wanted to do is get the best fights that I possibly could each time. And I just knew that the 10 fights would give me enough experience then to be a coach, that the people who I coached understood that I had been there and done enough. I was late 20s.
Yeah, wow.
You know what I mean? So there was no UFC aspirations or anything like that. it was just to get experience, so that when I coached, I went through all these things, and I know all these things. I know what's going to come up, so I can prepare everyone else, not just for the fight, just the weeks leading into it and stuff like that. So it's that's what I want to do. And I got the 10 fights in, and each fight was a better opponent all the time. Then it got to international opponents and stuff like that. So yeah, I went in the, I did the right. When you get that goal, I hit all those goals.
Yeah. So then, after you hit those goals, did that make it an easier thing to sort of make that transition towards coaching?
I was always coaching anyway. Straight away, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So even from early days.
Yeah, early days. Yeah, I was coaching it straight away.
Okay.
So I had my obviously. Well, I was assisting coach, but I was already. I had someone who was already at the top. So he was doing this, and to the point that when I had my own people coming up, then he would allow me to help corner them.
Yeah, okay.
So it was in them early times, and I watched a lot of stuff. I watched a lot of film, everything like that. So I was always into boxing as well. So I sort of just picked up things here and there, worked it out for myself. Obviously, I'd done. Cricket was also early on in my day. So being a captain of the Sunshine Coast teams and stuff like that, I already knew how to build a relationship and work out game plans for people at an early age.
So hang on a second, because
I didn't. Yeah.
See, look at this. We start on one thread. I pull at one thread, and then all the stuff's coming out now. So when did cricket come into the picture?
When I was about 2 years old.
Okay, so cricket was always there as well.
Yep.
Okay. And what was it about the game of cricket?
That's my dad's side of the family. Okay. So my granddad was very high up there down in Victoria. He played. I can't remember who he played for, but we got the pictures up on the wall. He ended up being a great coach, cricket coach as well. So there's a lot of people who played in the Queensland sides back in the 90s. They had my granddad as a cricket coach.
Wow.
So Lee and I would on Saturdays would go straight over to my granddad's house, and he would be teaching us the points of cricket, like batting, bowling, fielding, the aspects of where you place your fields. I knew how to place a field at the age of 6. Yeah. Yeah. So when I got 10 years old, my dad put me in under 12s, just dropped me off. Here you go. I didn't know anyone, and from there, the next year I was the captain of the under 12s Sunshine Coast team. This is at Caloundra Cricket. Then I went up to district cricket, then went to the Queensland Country. Yep. And was a captain of the Queensland Country there for a little bit, and I didn't make the Queensland team. Yep. But and sort of when that sort of stopped, bodyboarding, music, everything was sort of always there. Yep. And as far as the coaching, it was sort of easy just because I had been coached by my granddad and my dad, sort of thing. So there's Lee and I loved going over to our granddad's house. He'd be throwing the ball, so we knew how to head over the ball, straight back, stuff like that. All the basic stuff that you use in MMA or even in coaching. So it's really had a huge impact or influence on me. Yeah. So it's hard to say how easy it was. Not to mention that being in the band, I can actually hold a room and speak to people, project my voice to get people to do what is needed. Yeah, so it's all melded into one. Yeah, sort of thing.
Isn't it interesting? Like a lot of the times, these little experiences that we go through, whether it's team sports or these other things that you get involved with, music as an example. Yeah. Because of the structures that are there when you're trying to learn those bits and pieces. I was having this conversation with my son. Actually, he's 5, and I was just explaining to him about following directions in the sense of one day if you want to be a good leader, right now, you have to be a good follower. Yep. You got to learn how to listen and take direction. Yep. So that one day when you give direction, you know what it's like to take direction as well.
Exactly.
Right. So I was trying to use that as an example with him. But with all of these different things that you've done, there are different things that like those, even though they're not direct translation of those skill sets. Yeah. Right. Like that ability to read a field and think about strategy when it comes to cricket. Like it definitely applies to fighting. Yeah. that ability of perhaps even like reading a wave and
Yeah.
that vision, right?
Yeah, it is exactly it. Yeah,
It's the eyesight to be able to, you know, control the distance, control the space, and what's coming, and predict, you know, what's next. Right?
A wave's not a wave. Like when you know what you're doing and you can see the shape of it coming in, you know if it's a good one or not. Even though if some people just see a wave, they see a wave.
Yeah.
There's an energy line for it and stuff like that, and then you sort of got to connect to that. It's crazy stuff. That's why people get addicted to surfing, same as jiu-jitsu, whatever it is. There's something there.
Yeah.
And we don't know really what it is. It feels like it's a part of us or something like that. And the same as coaching. I'm not sure. Well, obviously it's in our family, and it was just easy for me to do. So when I took it over, it just seems like that. But to be a coach, you had to have the experience. I felt anyway, and that's why I did those fights. Made sure that I put my goal and I chased that bit, just so that I wasn't left there going, is this what you need to do? Is this and that? So, yeah, that's why I did it.
Yeah. Are there any other funny stories or good stories from when you were fighting that you'd like to share?
When I was fighting, listen, I can't. I used to love the early days. It was, I was saying before, must have been about 6 or 7 gyms. So, you get an email saying, do you want to fight the year in Sydney or Perth or whatever? Who against? Luke Bazzuti and the guys at Line. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. We'll meet over in Perth. Why are we Queensland and Sydney meeting in Perth for to fight? Yeah.
Shout out to Luke as well.
Yeah, shout out to Luke. And we'd have a good time after the fights. So all the teams, we'd all get together because we all knew each other, and we'd all go out and go to the casino or something like that.
Yeah.
And not funny stories. They were great times. You know what I mean? And it was very different back then. Obviously, the fan bases got huge. But all the old school guys, it was good all to hang out with them. So yeah.
Yep. And then for you, like, did this transition to coaching and being able to generate a living from martial arts, was that a fairly smooth transition for you, or were there some bumps and bruises along the way?
Oh, there's still bumps and bruises now. It's not
let's not
smooth sailing, mate.
Let's not talk about the ATO.
Yeah. It's definitely not smooth sailing at any time. I don't think it ever will. I suppose that's what drives it, to keep motivating, to try and work new things out, and implement new strategies, plans and stuff like that to get people in. But I can't remember the question. I got too much CTE.
Yeah. Okay. So then, I guess when it came to then, as you said, your vision was always to sort of bring martial arts to the Sunshine Coast, right? How did Ignite start, and I guess what's the sort of what was the genesis story there?
Well, Ignite, it was Advance Brisbane under that banner.
Yep.
So it was like a affiliation gym, and then about 2011. So that's 2004 to 2011. We were fighting under that banner, and then 2011, we made the separation, the break, and started Ignite. So Ignite was 2011 onwards.
Okay.
Yeah. So to know that the Gamebred Academy and Combat Lab are all under the same. Well, we were all in the same gym. So the two other gyms sort of are out from that one gym that we all started at.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I see, commonly when you post on socials, you talk about the 50. Is it the 51 Elite?
Yep.
System?
Yep.
What is the system, and I guess how would you explain it?
What it is the techniques that we go through that are the basis of all the patterns. You'll have a look at our warm-ups. We do the warm-ups from the Monday pro class to the Tuesday beginners. They all do the same ones. Okay. Same at Gamebred. So if you went to both gyms, you'll see the same techniques for the warm-ups. We add on techniques accordingly to the experience for each class or team. Mm-hmm. But we have it's been developed for a while. When we got strategies on the cage, obviously on the grappling, everything like that. but it's just a base foundation. After that, everyone has their own interpretation. So we go through that and just has just all of the fundamentals. Give someone a little bit of structures, like when you do shadow box, and you go through a list, and they just do that. You see us the way that we do our warm ups at the back, and you'll know straight away. I don't even have to say anything to anyone. Yeah, they sort of already know. And I have look, yeah, they're doing it. You know, and that's otherwise, if you had no sort of structure or plan, it would be just difficult to manage all the time to get something going. But I said that instead of doing stuff that you actually wouldn't do in the fight, we actually do for our warm up. You know, it's just all integrated in that, just more efficiency. That's what it is. So we just did that. Listen, I just tagged it like that 51 Elite MMA system, basically. Yep. Just put that out there, and
it's stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often think it's just kind of like I think I was having this conversation with a coach yesterday about. He asked me the question, so what do I think about the whole ecological approach to learning? Yeah. Right, and I said it's definitely good, but like you need the vocabulary to begin with. Yeah. You know, if you don't know the name of the positions, then how are you supposed to coach somebody to say, hey, I need you to get to this position? This is the next step in the ladder, so to speak. Yeah. Right. If you're always just trying to keep things where it's like, you work it out just doing positional based stuff. Yeah. Like you have to, by putting a name on it. Like now you can actually get a bit more deep in terms of the meaning, right?
Yes, of course. So so you put the system in, and from obviously the striking clinch cage down to the floor, it all works together. Because we go through, as soon as they learn that, all the steps, it's just as much theory that we do as in just practical stuff. So every time that we have the fights. And now, at the start, it's a little overwhelming, obviously. But once they start getting, you have a look and you go, man, you've got that down. Like people like Jake, Jamie, all the guys in the gym here, they've all got it. So, and then they pass it along to the next ones. And it gets even easier to do because they sort of all work it out quickly. Yep. From that, because it's like a language, I suppose, you know. So it's a little bit rough at the start, and then all of a sudden they're just doing it. So they're able to, from those techniques, they can problem solve quite quickly because we've gone through a couple of the decisions to make at that time, and you have a look and go, hey, that's why you make the decision that time, and so it's and so their fight IQ goes up quickly. Yeah. So it's just one of those ones. I don't know why I did it, you know, something like that. I just felt like right to me to do, so I just followed it. Yep. Yeah, so I did.
And then for you, like as a coach, like a lot of learning is obviously self-directed, right? Yeah. And you're pulling in like influences, and you know, I think when I did the potty with Luke, we were talking about like the old martial arts magazines, all that sort of stuff. Like, I guess where were you drawing a lot of your learning and inspirations from, as you to sort of add to your arsenal?
I think just watching the fights, obviously. I remember getting the Gracie, what video pack was that? It was like eight, you know, all that for the grappling. Got into the first 5 minutes and said, this is too long. You got the VHS tape. so the instructionals weren't really out then, apart from that one. Gracie in action, I think it was something like that. Yeah. But the learning aspect, I just put, it was probably about, probably my own experiences. Yeah. Fun. Believe it or not, I think I was doing ground and pound before they even called it that. You know? Yeah. I knew that if I could get the fight to the ground, it was better for me. Yeah. So it's that was my experiences, like real ones. Yeah. I got, put into a few situations, obviously, when you're growing up, that people don't know that they're understanding that it's more life and death than, you know. And it was about 15, I think, you know, but that fight, you know, that I had was it was a hard one. It wasn't like ones where you punch one, you know, and quit. It was very hard, and it was like this, you know, playing around when you're in this situation. Your awareness is up. You can't. No one's there to stop it. Yeah. So it made when I got to the fighting, it way easier. I'd sleep before my fights. Yeah. Just wake me up an hour before, and I get my hands done to go out because as a referee, I got gloves on and shit like that. Yep. I just got to go out there and perform to my best. But that's my experiences were more like that. And so when I saw the UFCs, it was like, yeah, they're taking it to the ground. The intuition that I had was sort of right, you know what I mean? Because, yeah, you don't want to get clipped. Because in this, fighting, there's no weight divisions.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like that. So my intuition about learning about fighting was very early on. Before I saw anything, any UFC or anything like that. So the intuition. And so when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, I've been doing this anyway. You know what I mean? Without the chokes.
Yeah.
I said, this is cool. So, but the learning from that, I could probably tell you that Roy Jones Jr. is probably an influence on me.
Yep.
To watching him box and stuff like that. So, yeah, and when we started developing back in the early day, it was just boxing and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, it was sort of BJ Penn was like the person who was, the next thing coming out. You know, he had boxing and grappling. You know, and then it sort of somehow, there's the wrestling and that become a big thing.
Yeah, and then it was GSP's era where it's starting to get really integrated, right?
Yeah, and he's like the first one of doing all of it, and having a fight IQ. You know, when they strike, you shoot, they strike, everything like that. So it was sort of like, So I've been through all those ones. So yeah, the learning is, I've been learning from the start where it was strike grappler, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff, to up what it is now. So yeah, it's to develop, being able to stay current in from then to now. It's it must be something that I'm either doing or something I've put together.
Yeah, like definitely, because it's not easy, because like I think we're currently seeing this where every generation is getting better and better than the next, right? If they're not better technically, then they're definitely better athletically, and then but in most cases, the technical development has been off the charts.
Yeah.
When you look at like jiu-jitsu as a sport, no-gi and gi have become like two totally different sports.
Yep.
Just from the technical developments.
Yep.
In how people play and approach that game.
Yeah, plus a lot more competition.
Yeah.
It's sorted out.
Yeah. So then, because I always like talking about this concept when you think about MMA, right? I sort of draw it like there's two axes, and the horizontal axis is like horizontal skill acquisition.
Yep.
So like how many techniques do you know across your striking disciplines, your wrestling disciplines, and your grappling disciplines, versus technical depth. Right, because there's so much to learn in mixed martial arts that it's very hard to find that right kind of balance.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, experience is experience. Like the guy that has, spent the time and done all the different disciplines and done them perhaps as solo disciplines as well will have a deeper technical depth of all of those bits and pieces. Then it's up to him to try and put together.
Yep.
Right. Whereas somebody who maybe just trains just straight MMA, right? They know a whole cross section of techniques. But the way that they'll win a fight is very different, because it's like, okay, I just need to find where this guy's weaker than me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I guess, when it comes to coaching and with your athletes, right, like how much sort of emphasis do you sort of focus on them doing like straight MMA versus going down a rabbit hole and doing some like single discipline stuff to improve their skill sets?
Yeah, so after their in-fight camp, it's very structured. Well, what we need to do to win this fight. So we go through all the series of techniques that will come up from the opponent, what we do to nullify that area. Then we put our game plan that we would implement to see where their holes are in their game. And then we'll just keep constantly going through that. And soon as their fight training finishes, they have that week off, come in and do some other classes. With fighters, they actually pick up things quite fast. So when they do 2 or 3 other, like just jiu-jitsu classes, it benefits them greatly, because it just goes over some of the details that they have forgotten or they didn't do leading up to their fights. But yeah, and also it's more fun.
Yeah.
They just want to be around other people other than the people that they've been with yelling at them. So it's a huge, just for them to feel better. And just feel like being back in the gym. So it's really good. And the people who do jiu-jitsu and that, they love to see them, because, they've been admiring their work up here and that, and they've been thinking, I want them to come back down here because everyone's a good character. So you get on the mats and, that you see the people, they liven up when they see some of the guys go back there.
Yep.
And it's, I don't know whether they see that I see this, but it's very good that they do that, because it builds their skills. quickly with little details. And sometimes the fighters, they already have got a little bit of a question of this position. As soon as they get it answered, boom, it develops a game. So it's very important that they do come in and just do the other classes, even if obviously they come in because they've just fought and stuff like that. But someone might teach them something that they hadn't seen before, and it's very important to do that.
And then on that vein, right, when we think about the transition from like amateur rule sets to pro rule sets, right? When it comes to adding the extra weapons of like elbows, leg entanglements, all that sort of stuff, how do you sort of balance that out? Like when you got a fighter that's probably ready to go pro, but then maybe how do you sort of decide when's the right time to expose them to that rule set, or is it more just about okay, let's look at their opponent. If their opponent doesn't really use those weapons, it's not going to be so much of an issue.
We're always the rule set with elbows. We're always sort of doing them anyway.
Okay.
I would say this is a position for the elbow. Obviously, the amateur fighters can't do it.
Yep. Just
so that they know that that situation arises, it's there. So once you go from amateur to professional, it's not, and leg stuff. They're already doing grappling.
Yeah.
So because remember before, like 10 years, no one was doing the legs, and that was a foreign, so it wasn't an issue. So that's why when they're not fighting, go and do your grappling. Just so those areas there are covered when you get to us, because they still need the basics of the escapes of them. A lot of the fighters, when they get to that professional level, have already got all their the foundation sorted about the leg. They all know how to hit it off the hip. So that you push off the hip to punch, everything like that. It changes up a little bit, but it's not too much of a huge change. When the guys are ready to go. And as far as the other person's skill set in the elbows, if we'd have you have a look at the opponent to see whether it's a good matchup and stuff like that. But no, we don't. It's not like we have a look and said we're worried in any area, or we haven't coached them in that area that they might not be able to stay in the fight. That's not beyond the end all the elbows and stuff like that. But it's we're always learning it. So it's gradually, if they get up to that point, then we'll be ready to go.
Yeah. So then, for you've done obviously plenty of travel, plenty of sightseeing through all the fights and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Do you have a favorite place to fight, or favorite place to go to with your fighters?
Favourite place?
I don't want to go to promotions because then we might upset some people. At the end of the day, we love all the promotions and we love the platforms that they provide the fighters. So we support everyone.
All right. Where do we go? I've been to Japan with one of my guys on a short notice fight, and I think because watching the fights over there, like on TV, I always hoped that one day I'd be there. And it was sort of surreal, and because it was done such a short note, like a week's notice, it was a good trip. It's exactly how I thought it'd be, like the fight show and stuff like that. And probably Japan. I've been to a lot of places. I love all the places that I go to, but probably there just because of there's something that I wanted to go there. Maybe because my cousin was there demonstrating for the Emperor. Yeah. From being little to actually get going there, because I had someone fighting. Maybe. So it's and with one of my students who've been with me, he's still with me now, since he was like 16. You know what I mean? So over the years, and we sort of at 25, we got to that point. So that was pretty special to me.
That's nice.
Yeah, and doing it on a week's notice is special. Against the champ, he got a draw. Yeah. So it's sort of like we went over there, got
enemy
the trip.
territory.
Yeah. Yeah. And fought against one of my opponents.
Really?
Yeah. So I saw Ken over there, Ken Yasuda there, the Sonic Squad. So yeah, he was cornering the other guy, so I got to see him in his country.
Wow. Yeah,
so it was pretty good. That was the main event. So it was like I said, it was surreal, being in that moment, being over there against Ken and his fighter. Yeah.
And isn't it funny? Like a lot of times, people think that there's, this animosity if you have to meet somebody in the cage. A lot of the times after, you gain a lot of respect for the other person, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because you share this time that it was pretty real, and you know each other pretty well. It's obviously a shame that someone has to, be on on the losing side, but we all gain something, and there's no reason to be hating on anyone after that, or even before. It's I know there's like a showbiz, stuff like entertainment, which is good. Everyone gets hyped up, but after the fight, I've always been cool with everyone that I've fought, and mutual respect, because you know how hard you train. You hope that they come prepared as well, and you're going to meet, and something special is going to go on, because it's only used to know exactly what the hell's going on. And and after it, hopefully there's a decision being made that I've got to work on this more, I've got to do this more. So all you got to do is say thank you to that person for showing you something that you didn't see, or you're hoping that they'd be able to show you. And because when you're going in there, no one's beating you.
Yep.
Yeah. So you go in there, I'll see you tomorrow, mate. We'll see. I've done my training. We'll see you. So whatever you thought, the thought's going to be changed by tomorrow. They have the same mindset. You go in there, and it happens, and then after it, it's like when you're sitting there by yourself, or the next day, you understand that you have to make a change. You have to do this, and that's something that that's why you got to be grateful and humble. And I always, when I see any of my former opponents, it's nothing but love, so it's good.
Yeah. I guess, to talk about some of the fighters at the present moment, it's probably good to give them a little bit of a plug and talk about, I guess what's next for them. What have you got coming up, and who's matched up, or who's potentially on the wings waiting for something?
Matched up at the moment. We got, I think we've got Liam Brewster at Eternal. We've got a couple on XFC. Demolition, we actually took a fight. It's tomorrow, I think, down there on a week's notice. So Zara's down there. Obviously, we had, I think Sonny's fighting. I'd need my calendar. I'd go through my phone. There's that many that we've got on each. June is busy. What the Smiling Assassin over in Perth for Eternal. On the same night, we've got XFC. We've got a junior MMA Australian titles here on the 8th and 9th, same weekend.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so there's 4 fight shows or something on this weekend. And then we got Hex in Melbourne. And then we come back here for Eternal in the Gold Coast. We got Beat Down in July. Just a lot, mate. I can't name everyone. We had 2 good wins over in Hex with Sean Gauchi and Jamie Eden. We went over there, and they had 2 great opponents they went up against, very hard fights. We prepared well. I knew leading into this, I said to them on the Friday before we went out, I said, you guys next weekend show everyone, I'll show the world what we've been doing here. Because from what I see in my eyes, I said the plans that we put in place, it's going to be hard to beat you, even though we're up against hard competition, against the hardest gyms. I said I can't wait to see what happens next Saturday. And listen, they put on performances.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah. And so they're the couple there that we got, we did their fight camps, prepared well and won. So it just gave back us the, momentum's good, coming into fights. And we've been we're always in hard fights, either main events or co-main events in Australia for a while.
Yep.
Everyone's trying to come get us. We sometimes usually underdogs and we're still winning. So it's a good feeling, because you only want to be fighting the best and at the top. You work your way up for many years to try and get to that position.
Yeah. And
once you get that position, it's good, and you want to stay there. You take your foot off for 1 second, someone's coming up to get you.
Yeah.
So
if you're not growing, you're going backwards. Right?
Going backwards, and it's when you're at the top, you got to keep growing. There's got to be motivation. There's got to be something in the gym, like a high energy in the gym. There's a reason why we've got to keep going, because like you said, then if you start stalling, people come up and run over you. So you got to be ahead of the game. You got to be seeing what's coming up, studying all the fights at the highest level, seeing what you can do with that individual fighter. It's a lot of study. Let me tell you, even Sunday I don't even have a day off.
So can we talk about study? Because I love studying tape too, right? But,
yeah.
What's your approach to it? And what do you sort of like? So when you watch, as an example, do you just watch the UFCs, or are you watching everything? Are you watching one? Are you watching?
I watch
PFL?
one on the Friday night. I watch all the techniques. A lot of my fighters do a lot of the studying and send stuff to me, so I get an overview of what their bits that they see in their mind, because they'll screenshot me this technique, you know what I mean, like that. And so I'm getting all information from the fighters, which they feel will implement their game, or is it something that I've previously told them. They said, "This is that technique." I said, "Yeah, that's it there," you know. And so Sean Gaucher just sent me one today, actually, of a technique that we did on Thursday, and he said El Tapura did it in this when he got knocked down. He goes, "This is that position you said." I said, "There, that's the one there," which they never thought. It's a sequence that you do. I said, "That's it there." You know, it's in a real fight. Not that I ever saw that fight or even studied him at that time. And my approach to that is that, well, I see a lot every week. So it's not like me to study tape. I'm seeing it every week. So even on my day off on the Sunday, I'm watching the fights. So and at this stage, I think that it's very easy for me to find out something that works quickly. And if it gets done a couple of times at the highest level, you think, okay, well, that's why they're doing in that situation. And you just can pick it up quickly. They're at the highest level at the moment. Everyone's very well rounded in everything. It's crazy that you can't find a position that no one has done before. Yeah. It's just a little one detail, maybe difference, you know. And then that one detail has a counter to it already.
That opens up the next.
Yes, you know, it's some crazy stuff. As long as you can read the fights well, you can pick it up on the fly pretty quickly. So that's the study. As far as going too far into study depths on this and that, no, not really. I just see how it does live, translates live. You can also get a little bit too mixed up or muddled up with too much detail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because fighting comes down to, because you know what happens when the pressure gets put on?
Yeah.
Detail goes out the window.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I've just been, dealing with a lot of, like, I guess people that are more junior in their martial arts experience because of Alta, right? And just, trying to explain to them, it's like, if you think about it, if you're in there for 2 3-minute rounds or 3 2-minute rounds or 3 3-minute rounds, it's 9 minutes of your life. Yeah. Right? It's not actually a long time. Yeah. Right? But do you have the mental focus to be switched on for every second of those, even it's like 15 minutes of your life? Yeah. Right? Do you have the mental focus to be able to do and focus on what you're supposed to be doing? Yeah. Right? Because a lot of the times, you see it in people, it's like they get in there and suddenly their mind's like thinking, fuck, what if I lose? What if this? What if that? And rather than thinking about where's my foot?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Where's my opponent?
Yeah, where's my opponent?
Yeah. What's coming? What's next?
That's exactly right. It's one of those things that, focus. You never know how unfocused someone could be. Like, you get in there, you're bouncing around. I said, you know how close to someone is from breaking? Yeah. You know what I mean? When you're in there, like, you never know that you could be there. You're in the fight all the way up to the end, and he switched off for 1 second. We still see it in the gym here when we're sparring. As I said, when you switch off, you just lost that round. There was an area there that you stopped and he took over.
Yeah, the momentum just...
And you never know that someone starts reeling backwards. Their head's going, shit, I'm out of control. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. That's all you need to do to get, to break in, to beat the person. Capitalise, mate. Eh? It's one of those ones. Unless you go up against a guy that you've seen fight before, or a girl that you've seen before, when you go, she's pretty much foolproof. She's been put through the fucking ringer in this fight, or whatever. Like, it's going to be hard to beat that. And that's what obviously you're striving for as a competitor, to be foolproof mentally, because those 15 minutes can be hell. And you can only really know them if you've been tested in there. It's one of those ones. So it's we try to test them in the gym as hard as we possibly can. So when it gets to that point, or if it ever gets, you don't ever want to get to that point, but it's certainly going to get there more times than you think. Yeah. And also you can be out in front and lose as well. We've had that happen too, because you switch off because you freaking think you're winning.
Yeah, you cruised it.
Cruising.
Yeah.
And that can be just as bad. Well, that is just as bad.
Yeah.
But it does happen. So the focus is, it's a huge thing. And, it's one I think, we work on, because we actually mimic the fights pretty well in the gym on Friday nights. People say it's just like fights.
That's the hard
Some of them might say that. I say, but that's what we do in the gym, just to be preparing for it.
Yeah. It's I love those reels, those memes going around at the moment where it's like the first initial clip is two dudes and it's like, do you think we're gonna get brain damage from all this hard sparring? And then like it cuts away and the dude's just going ham, but there's nobody else there. Some of those edits have been like so good.
So good, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So then, last couple of questions.
Yep.
Like when it comes to the team, right? So do you guys do you have anyone specific that you guys work with for like the nutrition and the diets and the weight cutting and things like that, or you guys manage that in house? Or
no, we don't. What happens is they are able to go out and find the people that they want to work with. So we don't have a nutritionist just in the gym.
Yep.
Obviously, Jamie and they work off with a guy called Christoph.
Yep. Shout out to Christoph.
Yes, mate.
Strive Dietetics now.
Yes, there you go. I didn't want to say that. I would have.
He's been on the podcast. He's all right. We can give you a plug.
So we some of them work with him. Sean does as well. He got down to flyweight, which was a huge. It's huge from because they that was his sort of, he needed to if you want to make the next level. So so they've all been working with someone. I definitely encourage them to do that. Obviously, the rest of the team, they sort of talk to the fighters. I don't really have a sit down. They know what I want from them. But as far as that, we have the dietitians come, like that. They have them. As far as everything else, we sort of in-house.
Yep.
We have everything works off the MMA system that we have. That's what I mean. When we go through the system, everyone sort of knows it, and that's what we do.
I think the other added benefit of that is that it allows you to add some depth when it comes to, because there's only one of you, right? And so you have to go with obviously probably the highest profile fighting that's going on. Yeah. But as you said, you got like one weekend where you got multiple fights going on in different locations. You're not going to be at all of them. Yeah. But then you've got trust in your team. Yeah. Who know the same system. Yeah. Who know the same vernacular. Yeah. What words to use.
That's it.
And are going through it themselves. Yeah. That you trust them enough to then go and say, okay, you guys go look after. Yeah. To allow to bring the next generation through. I think that's a very valuable thing.
Oh,
right?
You're right on that. I was away and I had a young guy, Thomas Shellhammer, go down to Enduro. And I wasn't there. I was thinking it was in Serbia. I can't remember. And Jake took him down.
Yep.
And Jake he's been with me since he was 15 or something like that. And the kid knows all that. But he's learning to be a coach as well. But him going down there with Thomas wanted him to go down if he could go and works the pads to our system to a T, gets him right with the wrestling, grappling, everything like that. So I've got a few like that. I've got Michael Kosh. He's one of the other coaches that we have here. He puts in a lot of time in as well. And, I just got a good set of people that are around me to help me get everyone ready. But, having that system down allows them to drill those things everywhere that we go. You want to be comfortable when you're getting warm up. There's nothing worse than them feeling, I don't know, should I do this there? So having the people in place definitely helps the gym and me because I'm everywhere. So it's one of those ones that I feel safe when they go away. Yeah.
Well, it's building depth.
Yeah, building depth. Yeah.
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 And as I said, like you can't be at all of them. So having that depth and that actually lifts then the whole room. Yeah. Because then when you are away, you've got somebody else that you trust. Yeah. With the coaching. Yeah. Knowing that the same things are going to be covered.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. I think we'll wrap it up there. But give everybody, if they want to find you, how do they find you?
On the social, on Insta, it's at the Dunstan Death Squad, and Ignite Sunshine Coast here. Yeah, if you're in Brisbane, come down to the Gamebred Academy.
There we go. Shout out everyone. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.